And welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Tennova Healthcare. Guys, when it comes to prostate cancer, the key is catching that cancer early. So ask your doctor if it's the right time for you to take a simple PSA test. PSA test, it's a blood test. They draw blood, they do a PSA test while you're not there, they give you results. Boom, it's easy. Just, you got to be at the right age, the right situation, so you want to ask your doctor about it. And if you do find, by chance, that you have to battle that cancer, it is very beatable, and the first call you need to make is to Tennova's Men's Health Center of Excellence. You'll get an answer for every question you might have. Trust Tennova. They helped me through my cancer. They helped my father through his cancer. Tennova.com is where you can learn more about their many services, including that Men's Health Center of Excellence. I can't say enough good things about Tennova. All right, back with Bob, Vince, Chuck, Jimmy. We've talked since spring about expectations for 2015. We've said on a number of occasions 7 wins, 8 wins is probably in the ballpark there. Both would be an improvement over last year's 6-win regular season campaign. And that's what we're talking about, regular season wins, 7 or 8. Give me reasons why Tennessee will exceed that 7.5 wins expectation.
Well, I think there's at least 4 that I came up with, but I think I'll go with 2. One is Josh Dobbs. If he is the dynamic playmaker that we saw him at his best last year, I think that's going to make a huge difference. And the second one is those freshman defensive linemen and that D-line. If those guys are difference makers and impact players right out of the gate, that's how you win in the SEC. And I think those are the 2 that stand out to me.
And to me, I would go right away with the offensive line, because I think that's what's going to take this group, because it's going to have, you know, a mixture of some returning players, and then you're going to have some key young players coming in. I think that if the offensive line is productive and healthy as you hope it can be, that's what's going to get you over that 7.5 wins. I could take another one, but I'll hold off and let you guys go.
Yeah, I was going to say the offensive line can't possibly be any worse. That was going to be my. If you're looking at the offensive line as a reason for stepping forward,
but it got better once Josh Dobbs was the starter.
You got
more productive. Yeah.
But when you took your center out of there, you took a step back. So
granted,
you're going to. We'll get into this maybe in reasons why they won't exceed expectations. It's the same offensive line will be talked about more there, I think. Yeah. Jimmy.
Well, I don't know if this is a case of great minds think alike or average minds think alike, but I'm sort of on the same page with them. If you stay healthy, Dobbs has to play really well. Now, the thing about the offensive line last year, with Dobbs, they averaged 208 yards rushing per game. Without him, they averaged 96. Now, I know they had a hiccup without Matt Crowder, but Dobbs made such a difference as a zone read quarterback in a true zone read scheme. The other thing is I think the secondary's got a chance to be really good. I like the pieces in that secondary. They haven't been able to play many nickel or dime packages. They haven't played any dime. They just started playing nickel last year because they didn't have enough defensive backs to put out there that were good enough. And I think a lot more depth in the secondary is going to help.
So long as nobody calls it the Mustang, I think fans will be okay with it going to that. Bob?
I want to use Vince's word dynamic, but I'm going to talk about the whole offense potentially could be dynamic. If you look at the individual pieces as far as the skill guys, there is a lot of potential there. I mean, potential to be one of the best offenses in the SEC, just if you look at the skill players individually. And like you said, I think Dobbs, how many teams have quarterback better than him in the SEC right now? I mean, it's pretty thin. So if I think they're going to exceed expectations, it's going to be because that offense can come up and put a lot of points on the board, which then takes pressure off your defense.
This segment is about positivity, so I'll fight the urge to say which Dobbs are you talking about?
Which defense you're playing?
Which Dobbs? I actually said it. Oops, I couldn't be positive.
I've actually fought several urges to say things, but we will wait.
I've got one more, John.
All
right. Win all of your non-conference games.
Well, no, we're giving reasons why this team will be able to exceed their wins. We're not saying do this.
No, 7.5. I mean, they did beat Oklahoma.
That's still not a reason they will exceed. I'm talking about the team. Why will this team exceed 7.5 wins?
Why would they beat Oklahoma, Chuck?
Because Dobbs is going to be dynamic.
You go. All right.
No, but I'm serious. I mean, you're going to have to win some of those games that you're either going to be an underdog or you haven't been winning in the past.
And if you win them, you exceed expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, okay. Here's another way of putting it. Your only tough road games on paper. Florida, just because you hadn't beaten them in forever.
Right.
Missouri, because you haven't beaten them in forever, literally. And Alabama. That's it for you. I mean, you're going to have to go to Lexington, but okay. maybe Kentucky gives you a game, but that on paper, that's not one you're going to be scared of. So that's not saying you do this. That's just saying if they do exceed expectations, I think they'll be aided by the fact that your road schedule isn't very tough. I think you've also got 2 running backs now that could start for just about anybody in the SEC if you keep them healthy. I think Kamara and Hurd, they both look like big-time players. I mean, Kamara has that reputation, and part of it is also if he was good enough for Nick Saban,
Yeah.
you give it a little bit of a, well, I'm going to guess he'll be okay. So I think running backs are also in there.
Yeah, that was on my others.
Your 4s?
Yeah, my 4s. If those 2 guys are a top 3 duo in the SEC, if they're that good, I think you're talking about huge productivity with the offense, and then that will open things up in the passing game as well. So I think you can't forget about those guys.
Okay, let's wrap this one up. Here's what we got. Another one I'll throw out there. If the coaches get as much from the defense this year as they did last year, and that goes back to those young guys on the defensive line as well, kind of stating what you said another way. It's going to be a long season with only 1 open date, but it looks like you're going to be healthy going into fall camp, which is a positive. Jimmy,
I was going to throw out Mike DeBoer comes in and does well as an offensive coordinator replacing Bajakian, that his time away from football is not going to cause him to be rusty when he comes in as a play caller.
And I think it's also an aid to him that the spread concepts are not, this isn't the toughest deep offense to master. I think it's one that a guy that's as familiar with football and has his resume should be able to come in and say, yeah, I know how to run this. So, okay, very good. And when we come back, we're going to take a look. Expansion. We're still going to look at the reasons Tennessee won't exceed expectations later. But next, expansion. Is the SEC better now than it was in 1991? Come on back.